Welcome everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to MUFC versus everybody. I am your host Sean, and this is the Manchester United fan channel that is fan opinion first. Always, this channel is built by you guys, powered by you guys, sustained by you guys, by your opinion, your thoughts, your feedback, your questions, all of it. I'm just here to kind of throw out the topics. I'm here to facilitate the conversation and to poke in every now and then my 2 cents. But I'm so thankful for everybody who's gotten involved since the channel started a few months ago. Feels like it's been so long, but it has blown right by. The channel has grown, and I'm super thankful for all you guys being a part of that and engaging. Danny B, welcome back, bud. Danny B, how are you doing, my friend? Back to work on the long weekend's over with. But obviously today, I'm going to be talking a little bit about Brighton match. I know I said I was going to do it Friday, but we got the team news, and Ten Hag did his presser a little early, so I wanted to go ahead and do that because I didn't know what my plans were this weekend, so I thought I would take advantage of the time while I have it. So let's get stuck in, everybody. Don't forget to hit that like button for me. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you are new. Let's dive right in. A little bit of a slow news day, other than the usual kind of rumbling and whispers. The Ugarte deal is moving forward. Talks are close. Things have been closed for almost a month now, it seems like, between United and PSG for Manuel Ugarte. It sounds like both parties are kind of digging in their heels a little bit. Loan with an obligation to buy has been discussed today. That's the most recent thing. But again, it's nothing we haven't heard for several weeks now, right? And that's part of the reason why I say it's slow news, because I'm like, I don't really like just repeating. It sounds like the same exact message, just kind of reworded. It sounds like somebody basically got a thesaurus out and just changed the same message, right? Rajat, big up, man. How you doing? Danny says, now I know why we sold Oyedele. Yeah, I think that you're going to see, I think we're going to be a little bit more ruthless with some of the youngsters. And that's not to say that they're not good. I think it has something to do with maybe they're not, compared to other youngsters in their positions, maybe I think the one who's not as good is either going to be loaned or sold. And I do think a lot of that's going to have to do with the youngster themselves. We saw this with Isaac Hansen-Aaron as well, Oyedele, Forson, Elanga. I think some of these youngsters want to play, but they're not quite ready yet for United, and they're not better than who we have. And it's better for them overall to just go and play. And so Oyedele, like I said, Danny, you probably thought of him a lot more of Oyedele than I have. I've only seen him on preseason. He didn't look bad, but Collier seems like the one who's being groomed to be next in line there. And then you've got Jack Fletcher getting ready to come through as well. And we've got another potential signing that looks like it's about wrapped up that we'll talk about today. As Danny B is jumping right in, Kone is impressive. I've watched highlights months back. He was on the radar. So that is what we're going to do. Again, as far as Ugarte, is nothing new there. Of course, if and when the Ugarte announcement is made official, whether that's an official here we go, whether that's him holding up the shirt, signing the contract, whatever, I will, of course, be here to get your thoughts and celebrate that. We did get a here we go today from Fabrizio Romano about United signing a defensive midfielder. It is not Ugarte, though, and Danny B kind of jumped the gun a little bit. Apparently, this is a teenager that we reportedly beat out other few clubs to get. His name is Sekou Kone. He's 18-year-old defensive midfielder, plays for Mali's under-17s. He plays for, what's the club? Guidars? Is that how you say it? Guidars FC in Mali. So he, I guess, impressed in the under-17s World Cup for Mali this recently. I didn't watch the under-17s World Cup. I don't even know if I can watch the under-17s World Cup in 2023. That was. I think I was reading he had like 2 assists in that tournament. And so what Romano tweeted is that Man United agreed to a deal to sign 2006-born Mali international talent Sekou Kone from Guidars FC. Here we go. Kone was on the list of several clubs, but United have agreed to a deal today. I don't know anything about the kid, and I'm going to be honest, I doubt many people do. But he does have in-depth knowledge of Mali clubs who play in Mali. More power to you. I think Belgium and some Argentinian leagues is probably as kind of random as I get when it comes to the football outside of the top leagues that I watch, but more power to you. I do watch a little bit of USL though. So Rajat says, Jim and Qatar having a standoff, kind of complicating Manu Ugarte's deal. Yeah, I saw it. So I was watching a little bit of United Stand earlier, and Mark said that he had tweeted that earlier, but then I guess Ben Jacobs had texted Mars because they're tight like that. I wish I could have that kind of relationship with some journalists. I did say hi to Jamie Jackson though. I wish I would have had a copy of Ollie's biography for him to sign. Maybe next time. Big up Jamie. He was a nice guy. But I guess Mark said that Ben Jacobs had actually told him, like, no, there's nothing there as far as the Qatari stuff is concerned. It has nothing to do with the Sheik or anything. It's just both sides just want to get a good deal. So I could see where people would think that, especially if Mark tweeted that out. But he did say that he was at the pub, so maybe that had something to do with it. And I could resonate with that because I can get a little loose with the tongue when I'm at the pub. So Raja says, look like Jacques Cancelo is probably going to Al Hilal. Danny B says, "Oh, you're saying Kone is similar to Conte?" I read a scouting report earlier today, a while ago, from somebody. I forget who it was, so forgive me for not remembering. But they were talking a little bit about him. This was a while back that they were scouting this guy, and they said he's actually got a really good pass on him. He can play these incisive passes. I guess he's really good at switching the play, but he is that physical defensive presence as well. So it's exciting. What does that mean for Collier? I think that it sounds like this kid is going to go into the reserves for a little bit. According to Laurie Whitwell, at least the plan is to bed Kone in with the U21s while he adjusts to life in England. Obviously, coming from Mali to England is a big culture shock. Hopefully, we do a good job of kind of getting him settled in, him and his family, kind of helping them out in terms of, are there any Malian kind of restaurants, things like that. I know I just read earlier that we were pretty good about hooking up Mizraoui, showing him around to some local mosques and things. And I think that's a good thing for clubs to do, to have these liaisons assigned to these players to get them settled in, find a couple of houses, find some schools, find some restaurants, find some good things that they might be interested in. Do a little bit of research too. What are these players into off pitch as well? Maybe get them switched on with that. So I like that. I think that's a really undervalued asset to have at a club. So many players have kind of criticized the lack thereof. Didier Drogba famously, was complaining about that. We almost missed out on George Best. We almost lost him. He almost went back to Ireland and stayed there because he showed up with this other kid when they were like 15, 16, and nobody was even there to greet them. Stuff like that we need, clubs are doing better at. So sounds like we are. I'm really glad to hear it. Raja says, don't watch youngsters much. I just don't have a way to watch the youngsters. So I get a couple of streams now and then. I find some on there. They're not really on the MUTV. There's highlights, but there's not any live matches. Danny B says, from what I've seen from highlights, ball winning mid, he's got a good long range passing and progress the ball well. And that's good. It sounds like he's a player who can do a little bit of both, which is really nice. Raja says, how is and I still at Leicester? Ndidi. Yeah, Ndidi was almost a free agent, and then he signed that new contract, got a new shirt number and all that. Ndidi was one, if you look back at my wild card signing, I'm pretty sure I mentioned him in that video as kind of a good replacement for Casemiro. Ndidi was kind of developed from, remember when Ndidi was in the Premier League a while back, he was kind of this destroyer, but he's, when Leicester got relegated, Ndidi kind of turned into a box-to-box kind of player, getting more involved in advanced positions. But I do like Ndidi. He fell off a little bit after his bright couple of years in the Premier League, but he's still a really good player. Raja says, Ugarte seemed like you have Casemiro sort of mentality, Uruguayan bite. Yeah, dude. Ugarte's got that dog in him, dude. I think part of me worries a little bit that Ugarte is probably going to see a couple of red cards. He's definitely going to see some yellow cards because that dude don't give a fuck. He will tackle everyone. I don't care. If Fred the Red gets too close, Ugarte's 2 foot in him, right? It is what it is. And so hide your husband, hide your kids, hide your wife when Ugarte has got that, when he's seeing that red mist, because he will tackle everybody. Danny V says, Ndidi played well. Yeah, he did. And think Ndidi is a good player. Like I said, when he was a free agent, I was like, that's a deal we should really be looking at. I think he would be like that. If we sold McTominay, Ndidi comes right in and basically starts in that McTominay role, because Ndidi is a very, very good player. I think he could probably, going by what Casemiro was playing like last season, Ndidi would have definitely been in the starting 11 for sure. But what are you going to do? Raja says, well, good that Casemiro has got this one. Casemiro looks like, I don't know what was going on with Casemiro. We might not ever know, but he looks a completely different player so far this during preseason and against Fulham than we saw late last season. Last season, he just didn't look like his head was here anymore. I don't know what was going on. Maybe he was still kind of frustrated with the injury. Maybe he was frustrated with himself for not being able to get back fit after such a long injury spell that we know, like I've said many times, Casemiro needs to play. When he's not playing, it's a while to get back up. He's like a diesel engine. It's going to take a while for him to warm up, but once he does, he can go for a long time. So he just needs to play. So again, on Kone, interesting to see how Collier fits in. Obviously, Collier isn't next in line to kind of come in and start betting into the matchday squad. It's not a bad thing to have all these promising young players. That's what you want, right? You want to start getting that academy back to where it was. In any case, we've spoken several times now about how Ineos's plan is to recruit these young future stars, and it looks like they're not playing around. We were linked with so many, Naipan, Anselmino, a lot of these guys, and we're getting a few of them in. We got Obi Martin, now we got this kid Kone. Seems like Ineos and Sir Jim get United's tradition of youth and are passionate about maintaining that tradition and those foundations. And so I like what I see so far. We've got a lot of really promising youngsters. Like I said, Fletcher, Ennis, Amas, Oyedele. Who's the one kid? I can't remember his name, but I've watched a couple of clips and like some longer highlights. It's not, his name is, it's like not it's like Ibrahimagif or Ibrahimagov or something. Somebody's going to tell me in the chat. But when I've watched him, he's looked very, very good. It's like a Brahma Guragov or something. I probably just butchered the shit out of that, but that's fine. Yeah, and so yeah, Raja says both the same kind of mentality. Yeah, I think you guys are really gonna like what you see from Ugarte once he gets over the line. I think he's really gonna help us. We already seen this new shape. Yeah, Ibrahimov. Yeah, I always forget his name. Took me forever once I started watching like Ajax a long time ago to get Ibrahimovic's name down. Because it's just not one of those words that your brain naturally, and this is our brain, that's how our brain works. It recognizes patterns. So when you get these random names that are nowhere near the patterns of sounds and letters that our brains are used to, it takes a couple seconds for our brain to kick in there. Danny says, if Casemiro has two good CBs and ball-playing defenders, stays to the system, he will be fine. Yeah, I think Casemiro will be fine. I don't think I trust Casemiro defending against the counterattack. If Casemiro is played more advanced, or maybe there's a way for him and Ugarte to play in the same setup, maybe if Mainu needs a rest. Again, this is the beauty of depth. You can adjust your starting 11, you can adjust your personnel, your tactics, your formation. You can adjust all that sometimes based on the opponent, and that's totally fine to do. I would love this against teams who play a high line, for instance, like we're going to talk about in a little bit. I would like to see us utilize speed, utilize counterattacks more, because you're just going to have to. I think that there's okay to be a little flexible there. It's okay to have your system, but it's okay to be flexible if it's going to get you the result, if it's going to put you in the best position to get a result. So sometimes that might mean playing Ugarte and Casemiro and allowing Casemiro to maybe move forward a little bit to offer a little bit something if Mainu needs a rest or Mount is playing wide or whatever. So Raja, if CR7's YouTube channel keeps growing at this rate, he will get over 100 million subs. Yeah, I did see that CR7 has a YouTube channel. I really don't know why. I'm sure it's something that Piers Morgan watches at 2 a.m. with a bottle of lotion and a box of Kleenex next to him. But I have no idea. I really don't know what the goal is there for Ronaldo to have a YouTube channel, but more power to him. So Raja says, when will Dan Gordon Lacey come through? I forgot about Dan Gordon. Wasn't he injured for a little while ago? Yeah, he's got that shoulder injury. Raja says, who is left in the youth academy for center backs? I don't know who's left for center backs, honestly. Jackson, yeah, I know Jackson's in there. Lacey, okay. So youth, big deal. Got another one coming through the door. Young center defensive midfielder, Sekou Kone. Looks exciting. A lot of people highly rate him. With Obi Martin, I think that's really good. Ethan Wheatley's, popping up in and around the team as well. I like what we're doing. I like that we've got a couple of youngsters that are on the cusp of ready to come through, because I think we're going to be in a place maybe next summer again to see, okay, who's ready. And that you want that, be able to see left and right. So Kone, actually, I read earlier, he came through the same academy that produced Yves Bissouma, plays for Tottenham now, came from Brighton. And there was another one, I think it was Amadou Haidara was the other one. So again, we reportedly beat out Palace, we beat out Wolves, and we beat out RB Salzburg to get that deal over the line. getting a young player to come to United and go into the Resis as opposed to going to Salzburg, that's a big deal because he probably could have gone to RB Salzburg and maybe been in the match day squad right from the get-go, the way that they kind of serve pipeline for youth. Because when you go to Salzburg, the next step in a year or two is probably going to be RB Leipzig. And then from there, you don't know where. We've seen players go from Leipzig to Dortmund, Leipzig to Liverpool, Leipzig to Bayern. It's everywhere. So Danny B says, yeah, that's the Red Bull transfer guy we brought in. Yeah, that's what I was getting to. Vivell, yeah, he's really well known for identifying that young talent, obviously with his time with the Red Bull group. So I know there's some stuff popping up that he had a lot to do with it. Maybe, I don't know. I mean, it's easy to make that correlation. I'm sure we have a whole recruitment team now, so everybody's involved. So I'm sure he had some part to play in this. But the fact that we got him to come to us and play for the U21s rather than maybe go to Salzburg and jump right in is a big deal. Romano adds that this kid is considered a top talent. He's part of the long-term plan, similar to Cheeto Obi Martin. So again, planning for the future, building a strong pipeline, and basically turning United's academy back into a factory of talent. I like that. It's been a long time since we've seen some steady talent coming through there. So just inject it in my veins, keep it going. Honor that Jimmy Murphy memory. Let's keep it going. Get that like button, guys, if you haven't yet. Subscribe if you are new. We're going to dive right into some more rumors here before we dive into this Brighton preview. So Dharmesh Sheth with Sky Sports and Fabrizio Romano have both today reiterated Juventus' interest in a potential deal for Jadon Sancho. Apparently, Juventus are exploring with United the conditions of a deal. Talks over personal terms are also thought to have taken place. It's understood United would consider suitable offers. So remember, Thiago Motta has basically told a handful of Juve players when he came in this summer, like, you're done. You're not part of the plans. Go find another club. I can't remember all of them off the top of my head. I know the one that always jumps out is Chiesa. I know Rugani just went to Ajax on loan. So without Chiesa, it's not that they don't need any wingers. It's that maybe Chiesa just didn't suit what Thiago Motta's trying to do. And if they are interested in Sancho, maybe that means Sancho does. So maybe that's what he's looking for. RMC Sport added that Juventus are currently negotiating with United over that deal. Again, talking about things. So it's always funny the words that you use. Bringing it up in a discussion for some outlets is negotiating. Like, yes, they're kind of the same, but really, are they the same? You never know, right? Of course, we've all had our thoughts on Jadon Sancho and how he and Ten Hag have kind of buried the hatchet after everything that went down. But we also said that doesn't mean he's going to stay at United. United Muppeteers actually claimed this afternoon that Sancho actually wants to leave United. So it's anyone's guess right now what that's going to look like. We're cutting it close with a deal like that because obviously with Ahmad, Anthony, Garnacho, Rashford, I mean, Anthony's questionable. But we have a lot of wingers. And even Ten Hag said earlier today in the presser, we have a lot of players in that wide position. Not all of them are going to play. Like, it is what it is. And so we're going to have to trim that position down. It's so funny. For the longest time, we were buying wingers left and right. Pellistri, Ahmad, we brought in Garnacho, Anthony, Sancho. But now it's like we have too many. And quite frankly, we have a couple that just aren't good enough. I know Pellestri's gone now. He went to Panathinaikos yesterday. But it's just interesting how poor recruitment can leave you with a bloated squad. And, you can have too many players. And when you have too many players that aren't quite good enough, this is what happens. So we'll see. It's not a bad problem to have in terms of you're going to have some players who just aren't going to play. Sometimes we see it all the time with big clubs, but it's probably not helping us right now in terms of FFP or PSR. So we'll see what happens there. So we got the pre-match presser today from Erik ten Hag ahead of Saturday's match away at Brighton at Falmer Stadium. I did read the other day that Ten Hag is going to start doing these pre-match press conferences on Thursdays now instead of waiting till the day before. I'm not sure what that is. Maybe he's just trying to have a set time to do that. I don't know. I'll recap some of the main talking points, and then I'll get your thoughts on his comments ahead of the match. We'll talk some injuries. We'll talk tactics and what to expect from Brighton. Let's see what Erik ten Hag had to say today. So he gave us an update regarding Lindelof. So obviously we saw the photo of Lindelof in the crutches, and then we got news that he had surgery. It was successful. He was asked about Lindelof today. He said he has an issue on his toe. Hopefully he can return quickly, but not available for the weekend. So no Victor Lindelof this weekend. It's doubtful that Lindelof's going to end up leaving this summer. I know a few clubs were interested, but it really depends on the injury itself. Ten Hag kind of made it sound like it wasn't super serious and that he'd probably be back fit sooner than later. So maybe there's a chance someone like Fenerbahce or somebody will come in, but we'll see what happens there. Obviously, Tyrell Malacia, Luke Shaw, Rasmus Højlund all still not fit, and Lenny Yoro still not fit, obviously, for another few months. So I know Shaw's injured. This is my surprise face. Yeah, right. One player whose place in the squad is not quite clear at the moment is Jadon Sancho. He obviously wasn't in the matchday squad against Fulham. We'll see what happens there. Your name is you. All right. It's going to get confusing if I say you. Hello, man. Welcome to the channel. Or woman. Good to have you here, man. Don't forget to check out some of the other videos, man. There's a lot of them. So Jadon Sancho, do you guys think he's going to be in the matchday squad or not ahead of the weekend? That's a big if one. Ten Hag said on Sancho, we will see. We have a squad. I hope we will have a squad with double positioning. And when we go into the season after September, that means you can't select all the players, but you need them all through the season. And basically, yeah, what he's saying is we want to have good depth. We want to be in the situation where some players are going to get left out of the matchday squad, and that's just the way it is. And this is what you get to do, like I've said, when you've got some actual depth. You can select not only the starting 11, but the whole match day squad for a few different tactical contingencies and whatnot. And yeah, some even first team players, even senior players are not going to feature. And that's just part of it. This is football. No one's guaranteed a place, right? The players pick the team. So show Ten Hag you need to play. Are you okay? I'm doing well, my friend. How are you doing? So again, Ten Hag said we have to manage it. The attitude of the players is very important. Sometimes they will be disappointed. They have to deal with it. You win as a squad. Exactly. Everybody plays a role in the performance and the result, whether they're in the matchday squad, whether they're in the starting 11 or not. You all play a role because that's just the way a team sport works. You're there to support. You're there to just be ready if you're needed, and all that. So he said the prizes are decided next May, and until then, we need all the players in the squad highly motivated. That is not an expectation. That is a demand on the squad. Usman, yeah, I do remember you now, man. How are you, my friend? You shortened your name a little bit. And I mean, Ten Hag's not wrong when he says this, right? I doubt Sancho wants to be a squad player, and I doubt Ineos are going to want to keep paying his wages if he's not part of Ten Hag's plans, right? Or he wants to leave. So it's going to get to a breaking point with Sancho, and it's probably going to get to a breaking point next season with Antony, because I doubt Antony's going to feature a ton. Where that's like 500,000 a week in wages just for the two of them alone. If they're not playing, then that's a problem. That's $500,000 a week in wages. So one of them's probably going to have to go this summer. It's probably going to be Sancho, if anybody. And then Antony's got a lot of work to do. Otherwise, he's going to have to go next year. We might be looking at another winger next year. So we'll see. Ten Hag was asked on transfers. He was asked a few times about transfer business. He was asked exclusively about Manuel Ugarte, which is a little weird. Typically, managers don't want to talk about other players, so it's weird when journalists continue to ask them these questions, right? And to that, he simply replied that we all need to be patient, basically talking about us and the journalists, and then wait, and then they'll let us know when anything changes about transfers and whatnot. So that was pretty much it. These press conferences are not as interesting as they used to be. You remember some of the zingers we were getting and some of the gold we were getting from like Jose Mourinho, Louis van Gaal, like even Ollie had some good shots every now and then. We like to forget some of David Moyes' press conferences, but they're kind of boring now. I don't even know what the point is. They only last a few minutes. It feels like the journos are waiting longer for Ten Hag to show up than they're actually there asking questions. So it is what it is. They're a little boring. So what are you going to do? Let's move on to the match. Let's talk about Brighton. All right. Brighton tend to give us a hard time. So we beat them in the last match of the season last year, 2-0. But they did body us at Old Trafford 3-1 earlier last season. They did the league double over us in Ten Hag's first season at the club. We did also knock them out of the FA Cup that year, though, so we get that. They did the league double over us the year prior to. Remember, that was that horrible year that we don't like to talk about anymore. The one match, though, that always stands out to me when it comes to Brighton is the that one early 2020. I think it was like September 2020, 2021 season, where it was 2-2, right? Going into extra stoppage time, and it was like way past the 90th minute, and we had a corner, we put it in the box, and then we were awarded that handball penalty, right? It was like the 90 some odd minute. It was like 8-9 minutes into stoppage. And we ended up putting that penalty away. Bruno put the penalty away. We won 3-2. It was way, way back in stoppage time. And I'm pretty sure that was the match that Neil Maupay scored against us, and then he celebrated in front of, I think it was Harry Maguire. And then there was that famous photo of him crying, sitting down on the ground crying after it was full time, and it was 3-2 United. So it's classic. You gotta love it. This is why you don't celebrate too early in football, guys. Fortunately, the past clashes really, to me, don't mean a lot. Like, you can only go so far back because it's more about, like, unless it's literally the same manager, the same players, the same system, and all that stuff, it doesn't really matter. Everything changes in football. Brighton struggled late last season. Obviously, De Zerbi did not have a great season last year. Ended up going to Marseille. They only got 6 points from their last 10 matches in the league, including that 2-0 loss to United on the final match day. But first match this year, they did beat Everton 3-0. To be fair to Everton, the scoreline probably should have been a little closer than it was. But Brighton had their new manager, the youngest manager in the league, Fabian Hürzeler. So on paper, they look like they line up in a 4-2-3-1. But in actual performance, in actual match, it's more like a 4-1-4-1, in all honesty. Mats Wiefer, obviously the new signing, who everybody was I was all over Matt. I wanted Mats Wiefer so bad. He sits a little deeper, kind of in front of Brighton's defense. And then James Milner, remember they signed James Milner, he kind of pushes up a little higher, almost becomes like an advanced 8 or even like a double 10, and gets a little more involved. And this is because Brighton want to play a little bit of that high line, which can be dangerous. Wiefer was pretty good for them. He grabbed an assist. He was winning the ball. However, he did lose the most duels of any player in that match, though, so he can be caught out. We need to keep a lookout for Brighton's very quick transition. Again, they kind of play that high line. They want to win the ball back. They want to transition high up the pitch. And they kind of do that through relentless pressing, which can be tiring. However, it can be caught out, like I said. Against Everton, Brighton punished pretty much almost every mistake that Everton were making. They didn't give Everton's defense really a moment to breathe. It was quick transition after quick transition. Everton they didn't have Branthwaite, though. And then Ashley Young went off to a red card late on in the match, like the 60 some odd minute. So that does have an impact. You do have to change your tactics a little bit. It does make it easier to overload the final third and kind of overwhelm your opposition when they're down a man. Brighton also, this is kind of, they're not used to this tactic. Remember under De Zerbi, they would play it out for a little bit from back. They would want to draw you in so they can play over that attacking press and kind of build out from midfield. They don't do that anymore. There's a chance, because they're not used to it, because it does put a lot of demand on you physically. We saw this under Ten Hag. Players are getting tired. Jurgen Klopp's Liverpool took a long time to get used to that physicality that he demands from that gegenpress. Same thing. We could take advantage of that, because if they do that, I think they're really banking on that yielding a goal or two early on so they can take their foot off the gas. The problem, if we hold our defense, if we stay compact, thanks to maybe Ruud van Nistelrooy's defensive tactics, and we kind of frustrate them a little, they could tire out a little bit. Danny Welbeck has had a little bit of a resurgence as Brighton's number 9. He loves the goal against us as well, his former club. We need to keep an eye on Mitoma and Minta as well. Though I don't know if Minta is going to start this one after he went off through a concussion protocol about halfway through the match. But we'll see. I don't know what the rules are anymore with the concussion protocol. If you're taken off, don't you have to miss a certain amount of days or something after the fact? Someone let me know. Justin popping up in the chat. What's good, my guy? Still, though, despite Brighton maybe being new to this high pressing system, despite them like they get those quick transitions and they seek out those wide attackers. So we'll need to be wary of Mitoma, Minta, whoever comes in on the right if Minta is not fit. We need to be wary of that. We need to be wary of Danny Welbeck because he is experienced. He does know how to pop up in dangerous areas. And again, he does love a goal against us. Mitoma is a dribbling machine. Remember, he wrote that thesis on dribbling, which that's insane to me. But even in this new system, even as good as they look, they aren't immune to making mistakes. They made a few against Everton that really should have cost them more, and they won't get away with those kind of mistakes against better sides who are a little bit more clinical and a bit more polished on the ball. Their high line is risky, and any sloppy touch that you make in that system, because we saw that from United and the other way around. Like I think Matt Pfeiffer had a sloppy touch that nearly cost them. It will cost them if they make a mistake when they play that high line, especially if you've got fast attackers and people who can really pick a good ball like we do. This is why, like I said earlier, when you're playing against certain opposition with a high line, especially, we saw it against City, we saw it against Liverpool. Like, this is how Ollie did doubles over Pep Guardiola when Pep was famously using that high pressing system and played that high line. You play a counterattack. You win the ball, you find an attacker like a Dan James or a Marcus Rashford, and you beat that press. As far as United goes, Usman says, I think you speak facts. I try, man. Again, it's mostly just opinion, it's perspective, and this is why I want you guys to engage and why I value your opinions, because just because I'm talking, just because I have a ring light and a camera and a YouTube channel, doesn't mean what I say is gospel, man. I'm just sharing my thoughts and my perspectives. I want to hear all yours as well. So get involved in the chat. Let me know your thoughts on Brighton. Who's their danger man? Who are you looking out for? How do you think we can get at them? Are we vulnerable against anything? As far as United go, I think we'll stick to that 4-2-3-1 like we've seen. I think we're going to see Onana. I think we're going to see Mazraoui on the right. I think we're going to see, it's 50-50 for me right now, whether Maguire or De Ligt start. I could go either way. Maguire had a really, really, really good match, right, against Fulham. But De Ligt is the signing. This is the reason we signed De Ligt, and who knows? I think we'll see Licha, obviously, left center back, and probably Dalot on the left again. I think we're probably going to see Dalot on the left a lot right now, just because we have. Let's just fingers crossed nobody picks up an injury, because I really don't want to see Licha push to left back if like Dalot goes down injured or Mazraoui goes down injured. So fingers crossed none of that happens. I think I want to say we'll see Kabi and Casemiro starting in that pivot, though there's a part of me that does feel like maybe Ten Hag could start Mount there, simply because Kabi looked a little off it against Fulham, looked a little tired, wasn't quite clicking a whole lot. He had a few bright moments, but I think there's a chance we could see Mount. I think Ten Hag really wants Mount to work out. I could see Mount playing in that deeper role, being more box to box than like a full-on attacking midfield role. But we will see. Like I said, this is going to be a big season for Mount. I know what he did and stuff. I need to see why we bought Mount this year. I need to see what Ten Hag's plan will work for Mount. I need to see what the plan is for him. He pressed a lot against Fulham. I don't want to take that away from him, but my dog can press a lot when I'm playing with the ball in the yard, which it's what you do with the ball when you get it. My dog has not a Scooby-Doo what to do with that ball once she gets a hold of it. I didn't see a whole lot from Mount either when he got the ball. So probably going to see Rashford on the left. We're probably going to see Garnacho start this one instead of Ahmad this time. I really think that Garnacho should, because of that pace. Again, that high line, you're going to want that pace. I know Ahmad is really good with the ball at his feet, but I want to be playing these balls in long. We have done a lot of damage against team. We did it against City in the final. We did it in the Community Shield. We can do damage with Garnacho and Rashford on a counterattack. We need to do it more frequently. Usman says, who would you rather, Dalot or Mazraoui? Well, I mean, you're probably going to see both. Probably going to see Dalot on the left, Mazraoui on the right. So, again, it's anyone's guess. Let me know if you think Mount will get the start over Kabi Manu. If you think Mount's going to start at all, let me know what you think. Probably going to see Rashford, Bruno, Garnacho wide, Bruno on the 10. And I hope and I think we're probably going to see Xerxes start this one. But it's going to probably be a little bit more like almost like a front two-ish, but like a front two of false nines, I want to say. in terms of, on and off the ball. I think we're going to see again that 4-2-4 when we're out of possession, when we're pressing. And I think Xerxes and Bruno are kind of going to interchange a little bit in terms of who's advancing, who's dropping back, because we've seen that from Xerxes. He dropped back all the way back in his own half to get involved and build up to start trying to win that ball and stuff. And then he pops up again. This is what you get from good strikers. You saw it from Ibrahimovic all the time. You see it from really good strikers. They can drop back to get involved, and then they can kind of, as their team gets the ball and they start launching an attack, they look like they're just jogging, but what they're doing is they're watching the play happen, and they're reading how it's going to go down, and they're jogging to put themselves in the right place. You don't want to sprint and then have to go kind of move back to a ball that's played behind you. You'd rather run onto a ball by running a little slower and then speeding up at the end. Berbatov is very good at this. Ibrahimovic is very good at this. And I think Xerxes is really good at that. We've seen it. He did that to get that goal. You don't want to rush. You can be patient. I think a lot of times young strikers, they rush a little too much in and around the box, and they kind of get ahead of the play. So it's better to run onto something, which I think we like to see from Xerxes. It's nice to be able to have someone like Ahmad be able to come off the bench. Danny says, I start Xerxes instead of Mount. Yeah, I think you could. I think I don't know if we're going to see Mount strictly played in an advanced position. I think there's a chance he could play in a deeper role. We're going to have to see what Ten Hag says. Usman says Xerxes has good potential. Yeah, I like what I saw from Xerxes. I love that Spartan kick he put in for that goal. That was a thing of beauty. And that was really good finish from him. Really good positioning, really good finish, good assist from Garnacho. Again, that high press is going to be key, and I think Xerxes, that's something he offers as well, a little work off the ball. We won possession in the final third more than any other team last weekend in the Premier League, so I'd expect more of the same. I think that Brighton will usually going to see a pass from Steele to his center backs. I think if we can press them and cut off that passing lane to Milner or Wiefer, it's going to be good. Against that high line, again, like I've said, I would definitely start Rashford and Garnacho, and I would look to play the counter, look to play that long ball when it's on against that high line, because that's the way you do it. You try to pass the ball and walk it through the high line, it's not going to work, and you're just going to find yourself playing just time and time again, playing against a quick attack and a quick press. Bypass it. Bruno's got to pass on him. Casemiro's got to pass on him. Onana's got to pass on him. Mainu can carry the ball a little bit. He can create space for himself. If Bruno has shaken the rust off from that opening match, because he did look a little rusty against Fulham, if Garnacho and Rashford have kind of got their shooting boots on, maybe shaken some of their rust off, I think we can have a shot to put a couple past them. Bruno can pick these passes in his sleep when he's on it, when he's not rusty from, a long summer and a long preseason break. This is just going to be down to our attackers finishing their chances. Rashford's been sloppy. Garnacho's been a little sloppy. Obviously, he came on a Community Shield, did a job, but in that first match against Fulham, he missed that gilt-edged chance. And I think that'll be in the back of his Garnacho's mind for a little bit. Rashford probably could have put that in himself. I don't mind him trying to play in Garnacho. Rashford probably could have put that in himself. So hopefully that wasn't Rashford not having confidence after missing the similar shot earlier, but we'll see. In defense, I think we'll be fine as long as Rashford and Garnacho stay alert, stick to their task of kind of covering those interior passes. You'll notice that 4-2-4, the wingers, Rashford and Garnacho or Ahmad, they're going to sit a little bit more cut off that interior pass, because when the ball goes wide, that triggers our sideline and everybody presses that wide player. It's not that they're marking that. It's no longer like a man marking situation on the wide areas. It's a team press sideline trigger. So those are some of the other differences that we've seen going into this season. Usman says, do you think we're getting Ugarte? I think we will. I would have liked to seen it done before preseason. I would have liked to seen it done anytime in the last 3 or 4 weeks when it's been talks are pretty much done, or it's close. Ugarte is close. We've been seeing that for almost a month now. I was hoping we were going to have that wrapped up before this weekend, because I think we need him. It'll probably be wrapped up before the Liverpool match next weekend. It's amazing that we already have Liverpool. Although, remember, the first season Ten Hag was here, we played Liverpool early in the season and we beat them. So maybe we'll get another shot. We did knock them out of the FA Cup last year. And probably what was one of my favorite matches of the year was that. Honestly, I think I'd rather, I've watched the FA Cup final more, but I get more excitement and enjoy out of watching us beat Liverpool in that quarterfinal. That was such a good match. classic. Like, you don't get better than that. I think we will come away with 3 points on the weekend. I think it's going to be close. 2-1 United is my prediction. Now, I know I predicted 3-2 against Fulham, and that ended 1-0. We could have had more in that match, though, if we're honest, if we just finished our dinner a little bit. Everything was working fine in that match, and that's what I take away. The tactics were good. The pressing was good. The attack was good. Our attackers were just not good with their finishing. They could not finish a sentence, let alone those chances. So it would have been nice to have Ugarte for this one, but it is what it is. 2-1 United, my prediction. What are you guys predicting for this? Usman says, I think 3-2 to us. He cried when we won in Liverpool. It's an early kickoff this weekend at 7:30 a.m. my time, so that's fun. I'll, of course, be back shortly after the match to get your initial thoughts on the result and get your reactions and share a little bit of my thoughts. And then, of course, I'll be back Sunday, the day after, with my 3 thoughts on the match itself, as always. As always, too, before I get going, don't forget to hit the like button if you haven't yet. Please don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Let me check and see if any late-breaking news has popped up while I've been live, just so I don't miss out. No, it doesn't really look like it. So I'm predicting 3-2 United on the weekend. It's going to be close, but I think the attackers being more clinical is probably going to be the difference for us, and then taking advantage of the high line. Those are my thoughts. Let me know yours. Danny says 2-2. That was my initial prediction, but I feel like I feel good about it. I think that after a little bit of rust, I think that we're going to see some goals. Who do you think is going to score some goals? I always predict Casemiro is going to get a header on a free kick. I think Rashford will for sure grab one. I think Rashford he looks hungry. He just needs to shake that rust off. And maybe Xerxes might grab one, but we'll see. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Usman, Danny, and Rajat. As always, thank you guys for stopping by. I will see you guys maybe tomorrow with some news. I don't like to just pop on when there's not much to talk about, which is why there wasn't a morning video. There just wasn't much going on, and I knew that we're going to get a presser from Ten Hag today, so I thought I would just wait to get those talking points and then come back and do it all today. So it leaves tomorrow a little open, so enjoy your evening. If anything does pop up overnight, obviously I will be back tomorrow to get your thoughts, but until then, like the video, subscribe to the channel, check me out on Twitter, MUFC versus everybody, and I will see you guys maybe tomorrow, probably tomorrow, but take it easy, guys. Later.